Welcome to Discovrse, the weekly occult and esoteric podcast hosted by myself, Abammon the Great, and Dr. Anna Stone. This week we're discussing trance states, our techniques for inducing them, and what we've learned in a series of EEG brain scan experiments during spirit conjuration and occult channeling. So breathe in, young magus, and let the work begin. Three, 2, 1. Hello all, welcome to a state of trance on the Discovrse podcast. It is I, the great wizard man, Abammon, and I'm joined always with sexy girl time, Dr. Anna Stone, right? She's the doctor of grooves, of dance, of trance, baby. And tonight we're going to be talking about that trance lifestyle, you know? What we do, it gives us positive vibes. It gives us peace, love, unity, and we feel good. We feel the vibration. So tell us, sexy Dr. Anna Stone, sexy girl time. Yes, we're going to talk about this state of trance that, you know, sometimes it's magical. It makes us feel good about ourselves, and I cannot keep doing that voice. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. So, welcome guys to the Discovrse podcast. We were doing a fun episode today. We're doing
a state of trance.
If you know, you know.
If you know,
yeah.
You know. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So this is Abammon's DJ persona here.
I know. Yeah.
And as you can see, I am in a princess vibe today because our queen, whatever you want to call it, because it's freaking Halloween month or Samhain month, and like I'm gonna dress up.
Yes.
I'm gonna dress up. I have so many costumes. I gotta make use of them. So the next couple episodes, I'm gonna be wearing random ass shit. I hope you know. So say what you want, but I love it. So trance, but we're talking about not the music trance.
Not the music
we love
trance, unfortunately.
Love
I love trance music.
Love electronic
But
music.
there's a good reason for that, you see, because those who have experienced that moment in a rave, you know, rave is religion, and this house is my church.
Yes,
right?
yes,
exactly.
I mean, that's how I meditate.
Yes.
Dancing. I could literally dance for 8 hours straight, eyes closed, not caring what the hell is going on around me other than that music.
Yeah,
100%. Like that is my meditation state right there. Like music, always involved. So I get it. But that's not what we're talking about necessarily tonight. We're going to talk about states of consciousness that are considered abnormal or non-normal states of consciousness. And that is the name of a class I took, actually, in that consciousness program. It was non-normal. That's what it was called. Non-normal states of consciousness. So, and it was interesting to learn about some of the things, but we both have experience with this.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of you do too, even if you're not aware. But what are we going to talk, like, what are we talking about, Abammon, like when we say non-ordinary or non-normal states of consciousness?
So I like to think about it in terms of altered states of consciousness. And this is kind of ambiguous within the occult and esotericism because everybody teaches different ways to get into it, and they don't really say exactly that. They don't really define the state. They just give you techniques. So when we're talking about stuff like scrying, some people, astral projection, mediumship, channeling,
divination.
Yes, these are all related to each other.
Yes.
And so something that I have been exploring and I've been really persistent about. So in acting as an initiator and trying to initiate people and trying to help beginners get into a place where they can be practicing magic in a way that I don't have to dictate or instruct the inspiration. Getting them off the ground is you're trying to get them into a place where they can get into that liminal state, that altered state of consciousness. And this is a really difficult thing to do because there's no one way to do it, and people get into it in different ways.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the reason I didn't use the altered is because that is typically associated with use of certain
psychoactives.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and don't want to get flagged for that, but that's, that is one way, but that's not what we're talking about tonight. We're going to be talking about other ways that this occurs and what occurs during, or what can occur rather during these states of
so
consciousness.
we're going to go over a few different things. I mean, we're not going to be going over meditation, but we've been using an EEG and conducting EEG experiments just so we can get kind of like a brain scan on what happens to Dr. Anna Stone. She is a true, real deal, natural medium. Her ability to do it, I've never seen anybody else with this ability.
It's so hard for me to accept that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess, I mean, I have now scientific proof of it.
Yeah,
so that's crazy.
We've been exploring, what's the difference between her brainwaves and then my brainwaves. And the way that I operate, I usually have to use meditation and dream practices in order to get into a place where I can kind of get beyond that veil and that liminal state and start having communion with different intellects like deities and spirits and that kind of thing.
Right.
So we're going to be going over a little bit about the EEGs, mediumship, channeling. I also want to talk about hypnosis.
Right.
We have a hypnosis episode, which is probably my favorite episode we've done. But I'm a better hypnotist and I understand it a little bit more. So we're going to talk about that because once I learned hypnosis, this became the repeatable method in order to get people into that state for me. I love hypnosis because I can help people have that experience with hypnosis.
Yes.
And then from there, we're going to go into a little bit of the history of states of trance.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. And shamanic trance also, which is it differs a bit from, mediumship or channeling. Yeah. As does hypnosis. So hypnosis is something that, first of all, I'm just going to pat myself on the back here because it's because of me that Abammon got into hypnosis, because I gave him a challenge, right? I had been attempted to be hypnotized a few times in my life. And the first couple times I don't remember why. I think I was curious and it just didn't work. Yeah. And then the third time though was in a situation that it should have worked. I'd just gotten out of a very serious medical procedure. I was rehabilitating somewhere. I was very weak. I was very, very weak-minded also because it was a huge toll on my body. And a neurofeedback neurologist person came in and put this cap on me and the gritty stuff, in my hair, and hooked me up to some electrodes and, did her thing. And I was just so disappointed. I wanted it to work and it didn't. And I was like, I can't be hypnotized. Darn it. And I told you that. And you're like, I bet I could hypnotize you. And I said, I bet you could. And I don't know why I said that, but I just was like, I bet you could. And then you proceeded to teach yourself how to become a hypnosis expert. And now, so, and you were successful on first try. You got me.
Yeah, it was really quick too. I was expecting it to take a lot longer.
I was too.
But within 2 or 3 minutes, I had you under, and then that began. I don't know. It's like, how do I have this much power? Like I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, it was hot. But it was crazy because I was like, oh gosh. So I think that to be hypnotized, number one, if you're somebody also that feels like you can't be hypnotized, let me just say to you that you can be, but it has to be under your terms. I think it has to be with somebody that you trust is not going to put any kind of weird suggestions in you. With Abammon, I didn't care if he put weird suggestions in me because I was about it. But the doctor previously and the other hypnotherapist, I didn't know them. They weren't a friend or anything, and I had no idea what they might try to do to me. And I think I was a bit paranoid perhaps about it. So you have to be able to trust that person.
Yeah, having rapport. So there's about 25% of the population that can get hypnotized without rapport or authority or anything. They're just highly suggestible, highly susceptible to hypnosis. The other 75% of the population, you need things like authority and rapport, and they have to kind of let you do it. But I have learned that anybody can be hypnotized, and that actually most people experience light hypnosis throughout their day. Yes. You like to use the word dissociation.
Yeah, well, I think and that's where it gets a little gray is because if you have a background of especially in childhood trauma, right? I know I talk about this a lot, but it's kind of my area of expertise. If you have a lot of trauma from early, especially violating types of trauma. You get my drift. Then as a kid, you have to dissociate. Like you have to leave, like mentally check out, because you can't handle what's, like it's too much for your small little mind to, comprehend. So one of the defense mechanisms that we are built hardwired with is this ability to dissociate out and leave, so that we don't truly experience it, right? And then those memories become repressed memories, typically speaking, because we have to survive. So in those situations where somebody is doing something to you that's terrible, but they're your caregiver that you rely on and you can't escape it, you have to be able to still have a relationship with them despite that, for your own needs and your own survival. So the way that nature has kind of wired us to deal with those unfortunate things is to allow that person to leave, check out mentally, and go elsewhere in their own mind, wherever it is, and not really recall the events as a way of protecting the self, right? So the reason that matters is because when you have that as a child, it doesn't go away. It just keeps happening. And it will be triggered by a lot of things, right? So if like you get too stressed out, if someone's like coming at you in a, aggressive manner, you might shut down and kind of zone out, or a lot of people say zoning out, or not paying attention, or you get accused of not listening a lot because you're not, you're out because something has triggered you, that response again, and it becomes a natural thing. And what I've learned in my research is that that's the state that people that try to meditate and get to, I don't know, like monks, spend their whole lives trying to get to this state, is kind of the same state where you went as a kid to escape. So, and it can be very bad in later in life because, people are like, hello, I'm talking to you. What sound? Why? What's wrong with it now? Is the card full again? The fuck, dude? I'm telling you. It's the ghosts. Is it? It's still recording. Yeah, you're cutting this out, right? Okay. So, yeah. So you can get like some flack for it, but if you know that you do it, and you can start to control it, you can end up doing these things. I think that if you have the ability to put yourself into a trance state, which this is, then you can open up a lot of different possibilities, including like healing yourself, right? Reframing. But we'll talk about hypnosis first. So tell me about it, Abammon. What is the trick? And what can we do with hypnosis?
Yeah, so I think when I was very focused on oneiromancy, as I felt like getting people familiar with altered states of consciousness through lucid dreaming practices, sleep yoga, and in 19th and 20th century literature, they talk about astral projection. A lot of like when you're in the beginning of the occult, that's something that everybody's kind of like working for, and then they get kind of disheartened because they have an experience that it's not what they think it's going to be. It's very similar to a lucid dream. It's just there's an extra weirdness to it.
Yeah.
It's the transition when you're astral projecting, the transition from wake to the lucid dreaming state, it disappears. And that in the East is known as sleep yoga, is when you maintain that awareness through that transition. So this is what's happening in astral projection, and then that's where you get the out-of-body experience where you're aware of the things in the room, and then maybe there's like a darkness that's around. But people get a little disheartened with it, but they called it astral projection in the 19th and 20th century, and people get stuck on that. And then once astral projection doesn't turn into this weird thing where they sail over to India or whatever it is, they get disheartened with it, and then they go into trying to scry and that kind of stuff, and they don't realize that this is actually training thing. So I was very sold on trying to train people with dream techniques, lucid dreaming, and sleep yoga in deep meditation in order to get people familiar with this liminal state that I call hypnagogia. That's kind of the scientific term for it. Hypnagogia is where your body is asleep, but your mind's awake.
Yeah, like so
And
sleep paralysis happens in this state.
Yes. And so then the dream hallucinations are bleeding into your
Like wakefulness.
wakefulness
partially awake.
and that kind of stuff. That, however, is a pretty intense process, training people how to lucid dream. It doesn't, a lot of people are like, well, I can't dream. One of the things I always say is like, do you smoke weed? You know, because that's going to kill it.
Okay, so everybody's dreaming all the time. They're just not remembering them.
Yes, they're just not remembering them. So if you understand what is happening in an REM cycle, there's about 3 dream states that we go into every night. If you have a very regular normal sleep cycle, right? Like let's say you work a 9 to 5 and you go to bed at 11 o'clock every night and you wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning, every single morning, your body and your sleep hygiene is so trained that you're not interrupting that REM cycle, right? Yeah. When you remember a dream, it's when you wake up or fall asleep directly into the REM cycle. So people with disrupted sleep patterns tend to remember their dreams a lot more.
Yeah.
Right. And that's when the dreams are extremely vivid and that kind of thing. But if you're also taking certain drugs, weed is the biggest one that causes this. You never get into that REM state.
Or beta blockers.
Yeah.
That purposely block this function so that you don't have, because people that have PTSD take beta blockers like prazosin or something, that it's a blood pressure medication, but for some reason it also, it works as a blocker, so you don't dream, like at least you're not remembering them anymore. So getting people into this familiarity with the hypnagogic state and training them with the dream training in order to get into that liminal state. And then once they are familiar with that hypnagogic state, once you're familiar with that, you know what state you're aiming for when you step into the circle. When you start conjuring, you're trying to get into that liminal state where stuff starts bleeding, right? Yes.
And so dream training can be a really extensive process. It can be extremely disruptive to somebody's life, especially if they're, have a full-time job and kids, It's hard to do the disrupted sleep patterns. One of the recommendations I always give people is if you can do it, the late morning nap, early afternoon nap, that is almost, you're going to have a dream nearly every single time.
Oh man, so many people would be so happy if they were able to do that, right? I mean, but like scientifically speaking or physiologically speaking, what's happening during this stage, this phase that we're talking about here, this hypnagogia, is that your beta waves and your theta waves have synchronized. Mm-hmm. They are matching each other now. So the normal wakefulness mixed with that daydreaming.
Yeah. So the beta wave is the state that you're normally in wakefulness, and then the theta wave was
the daydreaming, visioning, or creativity, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, or that's alpha.
That's alpha.
And every day this theta is channel. Deep trance, hypnagogia, imagery, mediumship.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So then once I started getting into hypnosis and using hypnosis on you, I found a tool to where I could carve that state out. And so one of the first things we did when we started experimenting with hypnosis is we started setting up different post-hypnotic suggestions to put you into different altered states of consciousness.
What's a post-hypnotic suggestion for those people that don't know?
So a post-hypnotic suggestion is when you put somebody deep into hypnosis and then you suggest to them that they're going to do something once they're out of hypnosis, right? And so you can plant cues into somebody in hypnosis. So one of the things that I would do with you is that every time you heard me snap 3 times, you would fall into a deep hypnotic state.
While I'm not hypnotized.
Yeah, while you're not hypnotized.
Okay.
So every time I would snap, after I planted that suggestion, brought you out of hypnosis, it had embedded in your subconscious mind. And then from that moment forward, all I had to do, instead of walking you through a long drawn out process to put you in hypnosis, all I had to do was snap 3 times and your subconscious reacted to it and immediately put you into deep hypnosis. But also carving out that state of hypnagogia, because that's where I thought your mediumship existed. I don't know if I actually believe that anymore.
Oh, yeah?
But the hypnagogic state was the liminal state. And so we carved that out, and the hypnagogic state was what we were using in conjuration. So in that one, I had a musical cue. It was a tiny little synthesizer bell, just a little synthesizer riff. It was on a soundboard in my phone. And so when we were sitting in ritual and I'm about to conjure I play that, and instead of bringing you into deep hypnosis, it brings you into this liminal state. And that liminal state is when the spirits start coming and the information starts coming, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what we were using hypnosis for, and I found it to be an incredibly effective tool to carve out those different states of consciousness. Now, one of the interesting things is that I didn't have to, after a certain period of time, and it wasn't that long, it was after a few weeks, I didn't have to put you into that state anymore. You were able to do it all by yourself. Whereas when we first met, remember the mediumship and the channeling, that was something that kind of came to you. Whereas now you are, now that the state of consciousness was carved out using hypnosis and hypnotic suggestions, you were able to do it on command when you want to do it.
Right, right. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. That is true. So I used to believe that it was a passive process, that it was like it chooses when for me. But interestingly enough, when I got my master's in the clinical parapsychology, when I was reading about these things, it was saying that it's an on-demand skill. Like it's an on-demand trait that you need a need for it. It has to have a need behind it. And I started to think about that, and I was like, okay, wait, that makes sense, because it doesn't just happen willy-nilly in my life. It happens when I'm reading someone. It happens when something I need to know is, that I don't know I need to know yet, but you know what I'm saying? Like, so that both of those things would be considered a need-based thing. So I started testing that out, and I started saying, okay, let me see if I could do this. And then I, then met you, and we started, I mean, I had already met you when I started this program, but like, we started doing this, and I was like, this is it. Yeah, I can do that. Like, as soon as it was like, you started getting me to be able to do that like that, I was like, okay, so this is an on-call thing, because
it is,
otherwise you wouldn't be able to produce those results with me.
So there's something that when I first started hypnotizing you, I had no idea what I was doing.
I know you didn't.
Yeah, no idea what I was doing.
Still did it.
I'm more educated now. I'm actually in a program to be able to practice it clinically, because
you're that good at it.
Yeah. I believe in it. So one of the things that I immediately knew the very first session that we had, the first time I tried hypnosis, I burned an incense that I use for purification. So every single ritual and magical rite that I do, there's a very specific incense that I use, right? And it doesn't, it's myrrh, right? So I burn myrrh for purification, and purification starts every ritual and ends every ritual, right? And so when I first hypnotized you, I burned myrrh because I wanted you to be able to associate the myrrh with, I'm going into this state, right? Now, this is something that I come to learn a little later. Hypnotists believe in something called the law of association, right? Yeah. And so when you're working with somebody and you're hypnotizing somebody, you want something there that they are subconsciously going to recognize. I'm supposed to enter hypnosis right now, right?
Yeah.
And so that was one of those associations. Now, you say that you've always been able to do it with tarot cards. I have come to believe that the tarot cards were your association, that your subconscious, once the tarot cards hit your hand, your subconscious says, oh, I'm supposed to channel right now.
That's exactly, I try to just explain it like that. Like, it's like the key that unlocks the door. It's like the door's closed and locked. And then as soon as I start to shuffle those cards, it's like, I went and opened it just by the mere act of holding the cards and starting the intention, basically, to do it. And it has been pretty crazy, but now it is on demand. Like, and I don't think I even need to be hypnotized anymore at all. Like, I think it just, if I want to, I can do it. I don't typically have a need to, though, so unless I'm seeing a client, so or we're doing rituals.
I've found a ton of utility with hypnosis. It's like, well, this is the tool that I was looking for to help train people in order to scry, to come into contact with spirits, that kind of thing.
Right.
Because it is basically, I was able to forego the extensive dream training where they have to, start a dream journal and they have to do a yoga nidra, which is like 61 point meditations. Yeah.
So the reason why this works, and let's get the science behind this. Okay. So, the modern EEG analysis of people that are in hypnosis, under hypnosis, shows that there's, again, the synchronization between alpha and now it's under hypnosis is the synchronization between alpha and theta during hypnosis. Okay. When trance, it's the other two, it's theta and beta, right? Yeah. So the reason why hypnosis works and it allows people to access these parts is because the default mode network, or the DMN, which is our self-referential chatter, our internal monologue, which maybe some people don't have. Okay. Weird. But it deactivates. So the internal idea of what we know about ourselves or whatever is deactivated during hypnosis. And the anterior cingulate and the prefrontal area engage, creating deep focus and reduced self-critique. So we stop thinking about, like, do I look silly doing this? Like, this goes against a belief, like whatever it is, like, whatever the thing is. And I don't think under hypnosis, even if you are hypnotized deeply, it still can't make you do something that you would not be willing to do, like it's not going to break your morals or anything like that.
So there's,
right?
Yeah. So there's the subconscious mind, there's a kind of saying or whatever that the subconscious mind constitutes around 73 to 80% of the mind.
Behavior.
Now this is not a scientific fact, right? This is just
this can't be
a model
yeah.
that people like to operate off of.
Yes.
However, the subconscious mind operates off of basically just knowns and unknowns, right?
I guess, yeah.
A known, like, basically, even though your conscious mind, like smoking cigarettes, right? Your conscious mind knows that cigarettes are bad. I don't want to smoke cigarettes. Or saying cigarettes are bad. I don't want to smoke cigarettes. But your subconscious mind, it knows cigarettes.
Yeah.
The unknown to it is not smoking. So the subconscious mind is hijacking because the known to the subconscious mind is
negative.
Smoking.
Yeah, is bad.
Smoking the cigarette, right?
Yeah.
So it's operating off knowns and unknowns. So if you try to plant a suggestion into somebody that to the subconscious mind, it doesn't know it, like it doesn't understand it, so it goes against their morals, it goes to their ethics, subconscious mind is going to reject it, right? Or it's going to slip to the primal mind and trigger a fight or flight response, which in hypnosis we call that an abreaction. Yeah.
Right. This is so that there's no, you don't have to worry about that part, right? Like you don't, but but for hypnosis, the deactivation of your internal criticizing yourself, your inner, like, oh, you shouldn't do that, like, or, oh, dummy, like, I mean, I talk to myself all the time in my head and out loud, as you know. And so that gets shut off. So it helps people be more open to things that, their critiquing self would not, like, let them do. Like, I mean, just the embarrassment factor or something, or like looking silly or something like that, it doesn't matter anymore. This is why you can see those people that, like, squawk like a chicken or something, whatever. And they don't care because it's that part's shut off. And that runs us most of the time, the default mode network. And it can be your best friend or your worst enemy, right? Depending on how you talk to yourself. But hypersuggestibility, right? So when you hear hypersuggestibility or suggestibility, I used to think it meant that you were weak-minded. That's what when I hear suggestible, my schema of suggestible means a dummy. I'm being honest. Like, that's what I think. That's what I thought. Somebody that is a follower, somebody that is, going to cave to peer pressure and, go with the herd, and I am not that person. If you know me at all, I'm not a follower of anything. So I did not like that term. And so that term, I think, was a hindrance for me being able to be hypnotized also, because I felt like it meant I was weak. But that's not what it means, right? What does it mean?
So suggestibility exists on a spectrum, and there's different types of suggestibility. But basically, the people that are the most okay. So I have to talk about the people that are hardest to hypnotize. Okay. Right?
Yeah, go ahead.
And these are people that are in their heads and do not take things at face value.
Yeah, okay.
These are people that second guess everything. They second guess themselves. There's, you know the type.
I feel called out.
It's very kind of introverted, chaotic inner world.
Oh.
And these are the hardest people to hypnotize. And so in order to hypnotize them, you have to make them believe that they're hypnotizing themselves, right? These are the hardest
Right. Aren't you wait, stop.
Yeah.
Aren't you hypnotizing yourself when you let someone hypnotize you?
Yes.
Or you just say a lie? I feel like I'm being duped now. Fuck. Because that's what I thought.
Yes. But, and then on the other side of the spectrum, there are people that take very literal and direct commands. And these different suggestibility types have to do with people's attachment style to their primary caregiver. So if their primary caregiver was like, let's say their mom was like one of those sarcastic moms, like, go ahead, do that kind of stuff. That's the type of person that is in their head and they second guess everything. So anything you say, they're not going to take at face value. They're going to. If somebody's primary caregiver was like they meant what they meant, like, let's say
literal speaker.
A literal speaker, like dad's like, I'm going to pick you up at soccer at 3, and he shows up at 3 and picks you up at soccer.
Yeah. There's no ambiguity to what they're saying.
That type of person is going to be able to sit down and be like, yeah, hypnotize me. And you'll be able to, with words, be like, enter hypnosis. Now the 25%, these are people that exist in the exact middle of the spectrum. So they take inferred suggestions or they take literal suggestions. And these are the type of people that you are looking for at a stage show. You're looking for these people that respond to both direct commands and these inferred commands, because these are the people that you can put them under in 2 to 3 minutes.
So these are the people that had a sarcastic mom with a very, very just on the board dad, right? Or something like that.
Yeah. And you can change, you can slide on this type of suggestibility based off of, throughout the progress of your life. You're not like set to it, but it's usually what your attachment style to your primary caregiver and how it was,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Damn. That's crazy.
So a lot of people thought that for a long time, they said that certain parts of the population couldn't be hypnotized, and that's not, we've realized that that's not the case. It's just we weren't hypnotizing them correctly because we weren't accounting for how they talk to themselves. Because you're sitting there and talking about right there that it's turning off that self-talk.
Yeah.
So you have to figure out who
to
that
get
person is,
and
how they talk to themselves, right?
Right. I mean, that definitely would be key. Like, and I can see now that you're saying that how the others failed.
Yeah.
I can definitely see that because it was like they were just coming at me like I'm the average person and like everything's pretty and lovely and and I'm like, not my experience. You know what I mean? That doesn't resonate it didn't resonate, right? So it didn't make sense to me. So okay, but so hypnosis is not new, but it's not okay. So hypnosis became a thing, right? With mesmerism, right?
It was called you were mesmerized.
Yes, that's that term. But even before that, there was, prototypes of that, right?
Yeah, so hypnosis is actually a very natural state that people have.
Yeah, like think about doing the dishes or dry. How many of you guys can, recall or not recall when you drive home from work and then you get home and you don't remember anything about the drive home, like you just zoned out. You are doing some mundane task, repetitive task, and you're just kind of zoning out. Like someone has to say your name a few times to get your attention because you're not, you're daydreaming. Daydreaming is this, right? You are self-hypnotizing.
That's a very light trance, and it has to do with the type of stimulation that you're receiving, right?
What do you mean?
So if you're taking in a lot of subtle information, if you're taking in a lot of subtle information, like if you're doing a task, if you're driving, that kind of stuff, and then there's a repetition behind it, it kind of dulls that filter that keeps stuff from getting into your subconscious mind.
Is that the self-talk? Is that is that the default mode network? Is that the filter that we're talking about?
We're talking about your critical filter.
Yeah,
right?
I mean that is it. Then it's your default mode network. Then that shuts. So that's the thing that prevents.
It rejects things from getting into your subconscious, right? It's deciding whether you can use it or not use it. I don't need that. Get rid of that, like that kind of thing.
It's like recycle bin or delete or store
or let
file.
It in.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. So we have mesmerism though was okay. So mesmerism was kind of debunked, like thought of as nonsense, right? I mean, and it was, why was that?
Well, he got brought to, I think it was like King Louis in France, and he had Benjamin Franklin come over from the States and review Anton Mesmer, and they basically concluded that Anton Mesmer's, he called it like animal magnetism. And
that's a dumb, why you call that?
Mesmerizing, and that there was this fluid. It's because he had this like weird convoluted scientific process behind it that wasn't actually the case, so it got disproven. They threw it out. They're like, this guy's just like a charlatan or whatever. But a lot of people, he had like a cult following, so there were still a ton of people in Europe that were like, no, I'm going to practice this, and it got picked up by physicians, like doctors,
right?
And so they were the ones that kind of started taking it into surgery for, an anesthetic, pain management, and they were like, how is this thing? And then this guy, James Braid, comes around and he renames it hypnosis. Right. And he does it, hypnosis, it's a reference to Hypnos, who's the Greek god of sleep.
Right.
Because there's actually, in the historical record, we've been practicing hypnosis. It's just rebranded.
Yes, that's what I mean. It's so in 2500 BCE, there were Egyptian sleep temples, the temple of Amenhotep, right? And where patients entered dream trance for healing, like led by priests or whatever, for healing, and they would be healed based on this process. Yes. And that's the proto-hypnosis. Like that's the earliest evidence we have of that, right?
It would happen in the Egyptian temples, the Egyptian mysteries. It would happen in the Greek mysteries. Yep. They call them, like these are the trances that they're talking about.
Yeah.
Right? In these very ancient rites.
Yes.
So this is something that they've been using for a long time. And if you think about it, the whole ritualistic aspect of it. If you think about, you place yourself 2500 BC. And you travel all this way to go to this temple, and there's these priests in there, and they're burning incense, and there's lighting is different.
Yep.
And they're already laying down all those associations that's convincing that person that I need to enter a trance, right?
This is why ritual matters, right? And like, so then it wasn't really until the 19th, 20th century when we have like Charcot, Genet, and Freud and Jung who come and are like, okay, wait, this can be a thing that can really help access the subconscious mind that is driving all these crazy behaviors or these maladaptive behaviors.
Yeah, it was through this the exploration is the rediscovery of hypnosis by the Enlightenment people and the scientific revolution. This is the rediscovery of this process that gave us the concept of the subconscious mind.
Yeah.
Like the entire exploration, psychology, psychoanalysis, and it's why we talk about a lot on this podcast about how psychology is occulted.
Yes.
Right? It is an occult discipline that was birthed out of our tradition, and it's because of this direct lineage right here.
Yes.
This is where Freud and Jung got their subconscious mind from. It was from this practice. This is why they were so obsessed with dreams, because they were on the same exact thread that I was talking about earlier. It's like, well, what is this thing? Jung was
he was psychic.
He was an occultist. He was an occultist,
yes,
but not.
But he wouldn't admit it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he couldn't. It would discredit him, right?
Yeah.
Luckily, we're not. I mean, we are still kind of there right now. But this is something that I have this. I really believe that we have not discovered anything. I think that it's all just rediscovery.
Yeah.
Things,
no. Exactly.
everything.
100%.
I always say like, oh, these scientists looked for this thing and they found it. Okay. Did they find it because they looked for it, or did they look for it because it had already been found? Like, you know what I mean? It's like the chicken and egg thing. It drives me crazy. But then, okay, so this is hypnosis, right? This is when somebody else, typically, or yourself, put yourself into this state, okay? Which is the basis for everything else, because let's be real, like mediums, people that talk to spirits, that channel information, that do automatic writing, that read cards, if they're really reading cards that way, not just reading the cards,
the symbols,
the actual symbols, actually, I don't do that.
Yeah.
Like I don't do
They're
cards
doing
the same
intuitive,
way. Right. Yeah. I'm hearing, seeing whatever things, I could do it that way, but it's never the same, right? It's not as good. But mediumistic trance, where you allow that door to open and get that information, that is, we have a ton of history on this type, right? This is like the oracles,
Yes.
Delphi.
Yes.
This is, you know, Hathor or Isis in Egypt doing this. Like, I mean, there's so many different accounts of this kind of oracle life, you know, this oracle archetype. And that's the person that, you know, their eyes roll back in their head and they, you know, start speaking whatever they're hearing, right? I may be being dramatic, but, you know, what is happening here is the person's putting themselves into that trance state at will.
Putting himself into a trance state, yes.
And this is, and then, so the ancient parallels, there's ancient accounts of this everywhere, but then we go to the, you know, then it's kind of like, we don't hear much about it until, again, the 19th century when everything starts coming back around. And this is like the Fox sisters, you know, all of the spiritualists, you know, that community where they're like going into trance and they're doing the seances and stuff, right? Now, were those real? Probably not. But,
yeah,
you know,
a lot of it was performative, but
but I mean, I'm sure there were some real ones in there.
Yeah, after my experiences with you, I definitely do believe that, you know, there were people in it that were capable of doing what they were saying.
I mean, yeah, like there's more recent modern experiments too. Just very recently, actually, there was a group of researchers that got together and they're like, okay, we're going to create a ghost. We're going to create one. We're going to give it a name and we're going to give it a backstory. And we're going to talk. And we're going to meet every month and we're going to talk about this person that passed away. And so I can't remember his name, but he was like from the 17th or 18th century. And they gave him a whole backstory and a whole life story and stuff. And they would meet up every month and they would record these sessions, you know, and nothing, you know, they would talk about it like as if the person existed in real life. Like they were dead now, but like as if they were a historical figure. And then they decided to try to talk to it, you know, after a certain period of time of like kind of creating this entity. And nothing happened at first until they tried to do the seance thing. And they recorded it and they have it. And I'm trying to find the footage of it. But it's kind of been classified, which is odd. But apparently in this footage, there's all of a sudden things start knocking. So nothing happened until they started to give misinformation about the facts of the person. They started to say this person was in love with this other person and he was going to leave his wife before he died, that kind of stuff. That was not part of the original story. And all of a sudden stuff went crazy in the room. Like knocking started happening, the table tipped over, like all kinds of stuff. And I guess it's on camera. And I was listening to this on a podcast the other day and I was like, wow, I got to find that footage because that's crazy, right? Like that's weird. But that could be a lot of things. It could be another spirit, who knows? But the idea is that you can allow things in. Even these people did not believe in any of this, which is the key point here. They allowed themselves to temporarily believe in it. And when they did that, they got results. But only when they suspended their disbelief in it. Okay. And that's what Dr. Dean Radin talks about a lot. He says that the true point of this is belief. Yeah. Like you have to believe in it for it to be real for you. Right. You know, which is crazy. So in trance, I don't, but then my experience says otherwise because I had a very hard time believing that was what was really happening. Right. Yeah. And it wasn't until you and also some of my other clients, but still I was very skeptical of it, of their reactions to my information, you know, because I'm relying on other people to tell me if I'm valid or not. Right. Okay. With you, however, you were able to show me information in black and white. Yeah. Okay. An actual text that exists that I never heard of before, didn't know about, at least in this iteration, right? In this incarnation. And that's nuts. So now I have to think, okay, even in disbelief, it's still happening.
I think
so what is that?
Well, I think that right there points specifically to the extremely real and objective collective unconscious.
Yeah.
Like Jung's collective unconscious is more, it's not an abstract, it's an actual thing that
I saw that one
out of.
Yes. Yeah. I saw it. I saw it when I passed, when I died.
It's hard because I always try to stay away from Jung because I feel like every weirdo's like, oh, Carl Jung, you know, but I just I don't know how to explain it any other way.
It's like a repository of all human collective knowledge and experience that I do believe that 100%. And so I think when you're in a trance like this, That's how you access it.
Yeah.
You can access that when you put yourself in this suspended state of critical thinking, I guess, right? Like that's what it is. It's like you're turning off that negative Nancy narrator or the scientific method narrator or the, this isn't real narrator, like all of that narrative is gone because that default mode network is deactivated temporarily. So you're actually able to see, quote unquote, what is there that the filter doesn't let you see. Right now, I think there's varying degrees of that, and this is on a spectrum, right? Of course, the levels of state that you can get into is on a spectrum.
Yeah. So there's, like I said, trance states, there are different depths to them, right? So there's something in hypnosis known as the Esdale state. And the Esdale state is where you can literally amputate somebody and they won't feel it, right?
No way. There's no way.
Yeah,
Are you serious?
But then it goes all the way to the trance states that we experience when we're listening to trance music.
Yes. Man, I know that.
And we experience these altered states of consciousness daily, and it's a very natural part of life. But the things that being able to like use it and hone that skill in order to access stuff, that is where it gets into the occult science.
Yes,
right?
it is, because again, you do like so just. If you've ever had a moment where some information popped into your head random, that ended up being accurate. Like, I mean, this happens a lot. Like there's a lot of people I know on 9/11, right, that had bad feelings about that day or like didn't go to work or whatever because they had a bad feeling. They didn't have any basis for that, like that they could think of, but they just listened to that. Like why? They were in that state in that moment. They were able to get that information, right? Like it's happening. And I think it's when our brains are like, according to the research, it's because the hemispheres of our brain are synchronizing. Like I'm sure most of you are aware of the analysis of the gateway process paper from the CIA archives. If you don't know that paper, go Google it because it's quite fascinating. It gives a air of legitimacy to the whole thing because it's like, this is the government spending millions of dollars on this research, and then it was classified.
Why wouldn't you though?
I mean, the fact that it was classified to me is more important. Like, because it's like, whoa, they've been telling us this isn't real for how long? Yet they're doing it.
Who's been telling us that though?
Life.
The media,
but
the
science,
education system.
yeah. Which is all crap. But this is
the government's kind of different. Like the military,
they are the
industrial complex and the intelligence agencies that are just like,
they're not really
like
government.
let's throw hundreds of millions or tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of $1 million at this black project. They're not the ones that are telling it it's not real. They're just hiding it.
They're just hiding it. No, I know, but their Saurons are telling us, right? The mouthpieces are telling us, like they're out there saying, "Oh, it's not real," because in secret they're doing it, and duh. So when I read that paper, I was like, "Whoa, this is nuts!" And it's really hard to read because it's very extensive quantum science and things that if you don't have any background in science, it's going to be really hard to read. But it's worth it to read it. And it's telling us that it's real. It's telling us that the government has used it in the past successfully to locate hostages, to find locations of things that they're looking for, to spy on people, basically. And this has all been done, with agents in our government.
Dr. John Dee's dream.
It is. It's fantastic. It's freaking phenomenal. It's amazing to me. And then even though that they have these recorded, like accounts of this working, they'll still say it wasn't successful. We stopped the program. We all know.
No, it just
they just
more
changed
hidden.
it somewhere else.
They just like drove it deeper into the.
I mean, I know this. Like this is how they operate.
Drove it deeper underground. They're like,
they're like, we gotta figure this out. We gotta find, and who knows, but like, it's that they've already researched this and they found it to be credible. Okay, so, but how does mediumistic trance work and how's it different from hypnosis? So in this one, it's the alpha and theta that synchronize, and this ego, in this case, recedes back. Okay, it recedes. It doesn't deactivate. Different. And the subconscious or the spirit operator, okay, takes executive control. I believe spirit guides people talk about are not actual other things. They are fragments of the psyche of the person. I don't think that they're actual spirits that are out and about. I think that they're accessing their subconscious, right? In the fragments there. That's my personal take on it, because I don't have spirit guides. I don't know what you guys are talking about when you say that shit. I do not understand what you mean. You're talking to somebody over here and the other away from you, or is it in your head? You know what I mean? Like if it's in your head, it's you, right? So you're talking to something. So that's what's happening there. It says it takes executive control. Okay. And there's physical signs that you can measure, which we have, which are slowed breathing, slowed heart rate, glazed eyes, and altered vocal tonality. So cadence can change. The mannerisms of the person can change. The speech might be pressured, meaning it seems hard for them to say things, like they're trying to formulate words but are having trouble with it. That's what pressured speech is. The neurological imaging of mediums, and this comes from, I'm going to cite sources here. This is from Perez, 2012, and Newberg, 2006, show reduced activity in the left frontal cortex, language and control, and increased activity in the right temporal lobe. This suggests associative, imagining, processing, and like your image processing is dominating. So, and that's true, because when I do this, I see things, right? And then the feeling that you have is being co-present. Okay. Rather than unconscious, you're co-present. And that's a hard thing to define for somebody that hasn't experienced it, but it's like that. It's like you're here, but you're not the one talking. It's like your voice is being used. Your tongue and, vocal cords are being utilized to say things, but it's not coming from you. So this is why I don't remember things I say, because it's not something formulated in my mind to come forward, right? I'm not creating a narrative for it. I'm saying whatever it's saying, something's speaking through me, and that's why I don't recall, right? And I've always read tarot cards this way, and I always have told all my clients, write it down, because I will not remember what I said to you, and I don't. I literally don't. Sometimes I do vaguely, but for the most part, no, I don't remember any of it. And that, now that I see this research, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Right now I get it. Okay. And this is a dual awareness of self and other, right? So there's that. So these are actual physiological signs that you can see. And have we seen those things? I mean, in our experimentations with this stuff, right? Have we?
Yeah. Do you want to talk about our EEG experiments when we get back from the break?
Sure. Yeah. We actually have scientific information about it.
All right. We'll be right back, guys. All right. Welcome back. So we've been using this EEG, and we're trying to figure out exactly what's going on with your brain when you're entering into these states. So we've done 2 spirit conjurations with the EEG on. We were not allowed to record them, even though we wanted to. So I had to write down the time codes. They allowed us to use the EEG, but they wouldn't let us use the camcorder. The
camcorder.
Yeah, exactly. I when the first couple conjurations that we did together, I tried to set up the camcorder, and it kept.
Oh, right.
It shut off. Yeah. Like 3 in a row. It shut off, and so I started asking permission, and they've never given us permission to record it with a video.
Maybe they just don't know what it is.
Yeah, we approached them with the EEG, and the spirits gave us permission. Like, yeah, go ahead. That's fine. So, the last EEG experiment we did, we wanted to basically get a reading on your brainwaves to see what it looked like when you're entering into the mediumship state. And then this very most recent experiment, I wanted to see what happened when the spirit got into your body, which is something we usually don't like to do. It's happened before. I let it happen. Yeah, you've let it happen before, and I usually get upset and like, don't.
I know.
Don't
it's just really hard for me to convey messages that way without it just telling you directly,
Yeah.
So
anyways. The first time that we did it with the EEG on, there was something that I noticed within the brainwaves that they were synchronized. All of your brainwaves would synchronize at very
all
low
of them.
amplitude.
Yeah.
And we've tried getting these readings on myself
Yep.
and one of my friends.
And my coworkers at work. Yeah, I put it on them too. And my daughter.
Just to set some kind of benchmarks to see if other people could do it. I am pretty experienced with meditation. We did it with me with meditation. I couldn't get my brainwaves to synchronize the ways that yours do, but they all drop to around the same amplitude and they're working together. Now, something that happens though, pretty consistently with the spirit conjurations when we use the EEG is that your brainwaves synchronize, and then when the spirit enters the room or enters our presence, the EEG, it looks like a flat line, right? And so this could be, a disruption in the equipment.
Yeah, it could be.
So it's just not picking anything up. However, every time it happens, every single time the spirit enters or the spirit exits, which is
So-
strange because it doesn't happen.
Wait a second.
When
Holy
when
crap.
it happens.
So there's these flat lines in the graphs, right?
Yeah.
Where it disappears.
Yeah.
So it says, are you seeing breaks in the lines or whatever? And then it hit I, so I clicked the I and it says, it's because either we're not getting a read or there's been some electrical interference.
Oh.
I just got that tonight. I just saw that. I didn't realize that that's what was happening. I didn't even bother to tell you, but I can pull it up and show you right now. That's what it says.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's what it says. It says it's either the equipment is, no longer contacting your skin, okay, or it is some kind of interference, electronic interference.
Yeah.
That could be disrupting the machine, or the battery died. That's it. But so it picks back up though right after.
It picks back up. The flat lines last for around 45 seconds, and it's whenever a spirit enters or spirit leaves.
That's weird.
Yeah, and it doesn't happen any other time during the reading. Only when the spirit enters and the spirit leaves.
Okay, so we could say that it was an equipment malfunction if it was one time or even twice. But it's exactly every time.
Yeah,
and then it picks back up again.
It only happens when that happens. So I thought that was extremely interesting. But
that is interesting.
I've got this tiny little book. This grimoire I just dedicated earlier to it. So the way that our procedure works is that I start the ritual with purification. Well, I personally start with prayer, and then I purify the space, purify us, that kind of thing. And then we cast our circles, right? And then I conjure the relevant deity under whose spirits we're going to be using. And then once the deity is conjured and we've asked it permission to enter into its sphere and work with its spirits, if we get permission, then we move forward and we put you in a relaxed state, and I start putting you into light hypnotic trance, right? I'm not trying to put you straight into hypnosis because I want you aware. I want you
to be able to have faculty,
there and present. I'm just
trying
to get the images to bleed. And so I put you into this hypnagogic state, and we're at a point where I basically just say you're entering a state of hypnagogia, snap my fingers, and you go directly into the state. And then once you're in the state, then I stand back up and I conjure all the spirits that we're going to be working with, right?
Yeah.
And so this is when the flat line happens, but there's something really interesting that is happening in your graphs. It's that when I'm working the hypnagogia up, when I'm going through the hypnotic cues, your delta waves spike above everything, right?
Okay.
And they get really tall, and the delta waves are responsible for incredibly deep, dreamless sleep. So even though you are aware, conscious, sitting there in a meditative pose, you're usually breathing, you're preparing yourself. You don't seem like you're in a deep hypnotic trance or anything like that. You just seem like somebody that's sitting in a ritual. Your delta waves spike above everything. They go crazy. But then the spirit enters, and then the delta waves crash to the bottom.
Well, okay.
But the other ones spike. Yeah.
The delta. Okay. So that's crazy.
Yeah. So then there's every time a relevant symbol, like there would be certain things that would happen Like you would see something that you thought was incredibly important, or you would get a message that you thought was incredibly important, your delta waves would spike again above all the other waves.
So my dreamless sleep.
Your dreamless sleep, the
was
deepest,
taking over,
yes.
even though I'm awake.
So this is the subconscious. Subconscious is completely taking over, completely spiking.
That's fucking
loss of body awareness. That's what this.
Oh yeah.
All right, thank you, AI.
Yeah.
All right, God, I hate it. They're so stupid. I wish they get this thing off my phone. Right? But normally in the rest of the hypnosis, your gamma waves and your theta waves are the lowest amplitude, but they're synchronized together, right?
Okay, so gamma and theta.
Yeah, so your gamma is your super high awareness, and then your theta would be your deep meditation, REM sleep, that's dreams, like that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So high awareness and dreams are synchronized together, and then above that in amplitude, your alpha and beta are synchronized together, right? So that's
there's two pairs of bands of synchronized waves.
Yeah. And your alpha is going to be in charge of flow state, learning, creativity, and then your beta is going to be just your regular alertness. That's synchronized with your alpha, right? So those are synchronized together. Then your
so creative and aware.
Yeah, and your theta and gamma are synchronized
and
together.
Dreaming and aware. What?
Yeah, and dreaming,
hyper
and
aware.
Hyper aware.
What?
Like you're talking about like ecstatic experience.
Is that normal? Like I don't know. We need to look that up.
While these things are synchronized and they're kind of flowing with each other, your delta waves are either crashing or spiking, and it's depending on what's happening. Now,
what? Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, so it's really interesting because all your brain waves, they crash when a spirit starts talking to you or a spirit enters. All of them crash and then they pick right back up.
So it was gamma and theta were together. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Gamma
and then delta and alpha?
No, alpha and beta.
Alpha and beta.
Yeah. So you're
okay.
Yeah. So,
and then delta was the one that's a variable, like the up and down. Okay.
That's the one that seemed to be having the most dramatic like lows and
spikes.
peaks.
Okay, so the other two were kind of steady, synchronized, and then the delta was like, so that's weird. That's strange to me because what else is there? Anything else about this? Like I didn't know that. That's nuts, and this kind of creeps me out. But.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to me. So it's basically saying that when you are receiving relevant information, your subconscious is completely taking over, right?
Oh,
but when a spirit is in your presence or is communicating directly to you, everything is kind of the amplitude on all your brainwaves, it goes down, right? So there's something that's communicating to you. So you'll see on the chart, the spirit enters, you flatline, right? Then maybe you pull a message or a symbol, something that you're visualizing, and the delta spikes, your subconscious spikes. But then the spirit speaks to you, and as the spirit's speaking or talking to you, all your brain waves kind of go down.
Is that because, why would that be? Like, I don't know. Is that because they're taking over? Is that what it is? And it's not my brain anymore? Like what?
Well, I think that kind of points to it not coming from the subconscious because the images are coming from the subconscious.
But the the information is not. Yeah. Like the images are, because I'm seeing it in my mind's eye, right?
Yeah.
Like,
so the
very
images,
vividly.
So there's something that I personally, this is like part of my personal understanding, that a psychic or a medium is communicating to you in their symbol system.
Yeah.
They're not communicating like a psychic or a prophet's symbols are not static. They are based off of their perception. So if I was to be receiving the exact same message as you, one of the symbols that you kept talking about was a trophy or a chalice, right?
With handles on it.
If it was me, like what is the essence of that? If it was me, it might be a vulva, you know?
Okay.
But the essence of it, the symbol is coming from the subconscious mind.
Okay.
Right? But the essence of it is coming from something external. And I think that's why when the spirits speak, the brainwaves kind of like go down, the subconscious isn't in control anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
So I'm just getting what I'm getting. Yeah. So, and that's why I say it's like charades. It's like, I got to figure out what the hell, that's easier for just them to do it than me. Because otherwise it is coming from, I know that. Like I'm using my schemas to
if we
interpret.
talk about the, like what you just said about the electrical signal causing the disruption in the EEG or whatever.
Yep.
So if you think about that, it's like, what are you receiving? You're receiving some kind of electrical signal.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what's generating those images, triggering the subconscious. Subconscious is processing it. What is that electrical signal? Here's an image.
It's photons, right? Information. Like it's little packets of information coming from wherever, right? I mean, then that's already proven to be true. Like, so it's just, where is it coming from? So this study about neuroimaging during trance states, right? And this was, again, I had already said the name of the author of this. I said it in the last, right before we went to break. Perez, 2012. Okay. It says there is, during a trance state, that there are changes in brain activity, including increased connectivity in certain regions, like the posterior cingulate cortex, insula, and the anterior cingulate cortex. At the same time, there can be decreased connectivity in the auditory pathway, suggesting perceptual decoupling. These network reconfigurations suggest an amplified internal mental stream that may occur alongside a suppression of external sensory input. Okay,
reread that for me really quick.
Okay, which part? All of it?
The external sensory input. I want to
know. Okay. It says there can also be a decreased connectivity in the auditory pathway, suggesting perceptual decoupling. These network reconfigurations suggest an amplified internal mental stream that may occur alongside suppression of external sensory input. And then it's the key findings from it were increased connectivity. Studies using the fMRI have found stronger hubs, quote unquote, and increased connectivity between those, the posterior and the dorsal anterior cingulate. And the left insula. These areas are involved in self-referential thought, again, and internal awareness. The co-activation of networks. There is a co-activation between the PCC, a default mode network, and the DACC and insula, which are this suggests coordinated brain response that amplifies internally oriented thought processes, decreased sensory processing. So it shows that this is why individuals can become less aware of repetitive external stimuli, such as drumming, whatever. And then the perceptual decoupling from the external environment allows for more focus on internal thought and potentially allows for insights and integrations to occur from external sources.
Yeah. So what you're talking about, the drumming, we're going into the music. So this is exactly what I was talking about with hypnosis, about how you're trying to overload this critical mind with repetitive stuff, right?
4 to 7 beats per minute is what it takes, I guess, for rhythmic drumming. It's 4 to 7 beats per second. It equals theta state. If you are sitting and hearing it repeating over and over and over again, right? Like they do in shamanic trance and stuff, that's to get to theta. It's 4 to 7 beats per second. Is that a lot? That's a lot.
That's a lot. That's really fast.
Yeah, that's a lot. And it is also...
That's the hertz. Those are the oscillations. So you're talking if you're doing like binaural beats, right?
Yeah, just dancing, chanting, fasting, that kind of stuff.
So it wouldn't be like drum hits, right?
Yeah. It says induction methods are monotonous drumming, 4 to 7 beats per second. And
4 to 7 beats per second. That's ridiculously fast. That's like
yeah.
Sure.
That's what they do. You heard it, like when it's really, really fast. And so, but get this. This is the crazy part. This is something. When I was reading this, I was like, "What? This is nuts to me. I love this so much." Okay, like this is nuts. All right, so during this time, right? What happens? For shaman, because it's different. Shamanistic trance is a bit different from mediumistic trance, okay? And how is it different? Because we're both going in trance states to get information, right? Okay? But I find this very interesting. So shamanic trance is usually for the purpose of what? It's for healing, right? Okay, that's typically what it is, divination or journey to upper or lower worlds, right? Yeah. Okay, so they typically see a tunnel, they have flight, they have animal transformation, encounter with ancestors, deities, etc. Right? Well, when they have done studies on people in this state, they find that the heart rate slows, just like mediumistic trance, but cortisol drops, the stress hormone drops, and endogenous opioids are released. So the opiates that our bodies produce on their own are released during this state, and that gives this feeling of like weightlessness, euphoria, etc. So you're actually making yourself stoned, like from your own brain chemicals, right? And in modern EEG studies, this is Floor-Henry 2017, show coherent theta and low alpha patterns indicating inward attention and vivid imagery. So you said that it's theta and alpha together, right? So inward attention and a vivid imagery, like sleeping, right? Like dreaming. Okay. And this is the same. Is this the same one? No. And then, that was this one. So that, I think the cortisol dropping is pretty interesting because that's something cortisol is bad for us, right? It's not good. And that is something that is lowered, and then the opioids rather are released in the brain. So the person is literally creating their own euphoria inside without the use of external substances, right? And that's for very well practiced shaman. And they have this study that shows it, that this is what happens. That's very interesting to me. I don't know. So I don't think the reason I'm going into trance is to heal people, right? But if it's the intention behind it, that's interesting.
So the delta wave is the wave that's responsible for healing, right? So like when you go to, how when you sleep, it's like, hey, you're supposed to sleep because that's when your body heals. That's what it's talking about. So not when you're in the REM state, but when you're in the deep dreamless sleep, right? And that's when your delta waves are the most prominent, right?
Yeah.
Those are also the waves associated with those are the waves that were spiking when you are receiving information when you're receiving these images, right?
That's crazy. I mean, I find this, it's so crazy to me, and it causes problems for me because it's like, again, I like to be able to kind of sometimes say, this can't really be real, but then I get this information and this evidence that I'm like,
so there's something, there were two moments that I specifically wrote down in this experiment, right? So there was one moment that you were able to smell something, like a sensory experience. You said that something smelled like mold and mint, and during this time your delta waves were synchronizing with your beta waves, right?
Okay.
So the beta waves are the ones that are responsible for your regular waking, and then the delta waves are the ones that are deep dreamless sleep. So when those synchronized, you were able to sensibly experience something. Now there was another moment when one of the spirits hurt you. You said you jumped, it did something to your side, and you jumped and you said,
to my side?
Yeah.
Okay.
You said, "Ow, dude."
Sounds like me.
Yeah. Let me see. And when this happened, your delta waves spiked, your alpha and beta waves were completely synchronized, right? So everything spiked pretty dramatically at that moment, but it was your gamma waves. Sorry,
gamma.
Yeah, your gamma spiked up with your delta waves.
Gamma.
So
those are the total different end of the spectrum, right?
Total different end of the spectrum, and that's when the spirit did something that hurts you. Yeah,
that's weird. I mean,
so the gamma is the
being awake,
hyper aware, crazy, all is one ecstatic kind of state, coupled with the deep sleep state, and that overtook all your brain waves, and you felt a physical sensation, like something hurt you, like hit you or something.
I didn't say what it was.
No, you didn't.
I just remember it was chaotic. I needed to get out of there, whatever, was happening. That's crazy. I really don't know what to say about that. The smelling thing. So I've heard when I was taking dreams, the anatomy of dreams class for my consciousness program, they were saying that a couple things that were really confusing to me. And since you've studied it, you know, I question everything. As you said earlier, I second guess what I hear. So I'm going to ask you this, see if it's valid. I was told in that class, in the book that I was reading and by the instructor, that people can't smell things in their dreams.
That's not true.
I didn't think
Not
it was
true at all.
I smell things all the time in my dreams.
Yes, it's different levels of lucidity. So if you are really good at lucid dreaming, or you have an incredibly lucid dream, all your senses are activated. You can smell things, you can taste things, you can hear things. I have done it. I used to, when I was still a musician, and I used to use lucid dreaming in order to write music.
Okay.
I would go into dream. I would go onto my computer. In my dream, I would open up my works in progress, and I would listen to what I was working on in my dream state. I would wake myself up, and then I would write it down.
How are you doing this?
Because I could hear the music, right? I can smell things when I'm in the dream, right?
Yeah. And I also heard you can't make new faces up.
I don't believe in that either.
Like I'm like, what do you mean? I see people I don't know all the time in my dreams. Like, what do you mean? I see it all the time. They're like, that's not normal. I'm like, who says to who?
Yeah.
Who are we studying? How do we know this? Like, so I feel like it's not true. I'm just saying, like, I don't want to be just, you know, dismissing something I read it but in textbooks and also from a professor. But in my experience, that's not true. So I don't know how that could be true. You know what I'm saying? Like, just don't. I mean,
so one of the things that we're doing, I guess, I was just talking about this earlier today, but one of the things that we're doing with magic and in trance states, in medium states, when we're scrying, we are trying to make these things that exist in the intelligible world, right? A realm of ideas, the archetypal world, right? We're trying to make the intelligible materially manifest. And so what we consider real and corporeal is that which we can measure with our senses.
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
So it has to be processed by by our senses, or else we don't consider it real, right?
Yes, I know.
Normally. So when we are in trance states, doing mediumship, doing magic, scrying, we are trying to take these ideas and make them manifest, and we do it with our senses, right? So that's why people use visualization. That's why you know, I personally, I'm always feeling for temperature changes, like that kind of thing. We use clairaudience. We try to see if we can hear it, because the thing is, if you can get an auditory manifestation, now I've made that intelligible thing real, because I've been able to sensibly apprehend it, right?
Yeah.
One of the most important things that is incredibly slept on, and people don't think about it, but everybody does it, is the use of incense. And this is why I use the olfactory sense.
Olfactory is the strongest sense we have, by the way. So of any of the senses, all of the senses that we have, our sense of smell has the most impact on us. And I'm probably wording this wrong, but what I mean is that a smell can literally time travel you, right? Like, you know, you smell something and it can take you back to grandma's house or so and so, you know, like you can, you know, I'm that way with music though. Like, it's like smell and music are kind of the same. All right. But yes, the sense of smell is really an important sense that we have.
one of the most important indicators for me when I'm conducting occult experiments, and when I'm trying to measure if something is manifest, is using the olfactory smell. And if we think about what the olfactory smell represents on an esoteric level, it is representing the air principle, right?
Yeah.
So the spirits are of air, right? They're daemons, they're go-betweens, right? Sefer Yetzirah 3-4, God created the heavens from fire, the earth from water, and the air decides between them, right? So when God created the universe, when he made everything manifest, he dragged it down with the air principle. And that's what we were doing with the olfactory sense. When we're using incense, fumigation, when we're using perfumes, we were taking that intelligible and we were making it manifest into the world, right? And so in these trance states, right, one of the things I'm always looking for is that sense of smell.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
can you smell something?
You want to hear something crazy? Okay. So you said you use myrrh, right? You know?
Yes, myrrh. Yeah.
All right. So in ancient Egypt, the temples of Hathor and Amenhotep, right? The priests employed chanting sister music and myrrh incense specifically.
Yeah.
And
there's a reason I use myrrh.
And you know what myrrh does? It facilitates and induces alpha theta crossover.
That's crazy.
I know. I just saw that right now. I was like, wait, what? I missed that first time I read this.
Myrrh has an association with Horus, which is why I use it. Right. So it's Horus is a, you can almost think of him as like the Jesus Christ of the Egyptian religion. So yeah, it's a very pure. It's a good purifying agent, right? Yeah. You could use white sage. You could use Palo Santo. I like to use myrrh or whatever, and that's why I use it. But
that's it, I didn't know. Did you know it induces alpha theta crossover?
This brainwave stuff is brand
all
new
new,
territory.
Right? I know. I mean, I worked in a neuroscience lab for 20 years. Okay, neural engineering, but I was with rats. It wasn't people, and we weren't doing anything like this. We were doing telepathic soldier communications, but I don't know how to read these. You know, I was not familiar with how these are read, and like I don't know. So I see a whole bunch of lines on the screen. I'm like, what does this mean? You know, I don't know what it means. But this is new to me too. Like the opportunity that we have right now to use this machine is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, like, so I'm gonna say why, you know. So I'm a part of a study for the Institute of Noetic Science on mediumship, and so they sent me this device to measure my brainwaves when I do these things, so they can monitor it. So it's for both of us, right?
Yeah.
And we're like taking advantage of it
at
the same time because
when you got signed up for the study, I immediately started like concocting experiments to do. And I was like, okay, yeah, but can we like get the scans? Like, because I want to.
Yeah, we can.
And
we have this
with it
on my phone. It's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, so this stuff is it's really. I mean, this is just so interesting to me that there's actual, you know. Because I think it's really easy for, okay, so there's like a lot of performative psychic stuff out there, right?
Yes.
Okay. And that's what even I think of when I hear psychic. I think of the fake ones. I think of the ones that are doing it for show, that are, you know, being super generalized and like, oh, I'm sensing a man and he died. Of course he died because you're supposedly a psychic, right? All right, so that drives me crazy. But like, that's what I think, like performative, right? Like that there's not going to be any real data behind it if they were to be tested, right? And that's held true in the past. Like they've had some psychics that, you know, try to prove it and they can't, you know, they're not able to. And I'll be very fair here and say that a laboratory is not the setting for this. Like it's just not. You're not at home. You're not in your normal environment, and you have to be relaxed. You have to be able to be like.
Could you imagine like me and you were at UCLA, like let's say, or USC, right?
Yeah.
And you like, let's say USC was like, you know what, we are going to study.
Yeah, nothing would happen.
We are going to study spirit conjuration, and me and you walked in there, and they had the whole lab set up, and they had all the researchers there. And then I was like, okay, well, I got to ask the spirits for permission. And then the spirit said no. I'm like, sorry, guys. Like, they said we couldn't do it, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's like...
That wouldn't work.
Because it's not conducive to, you know, an environment, a sterile environment like that is required for scientific study the way that they would want. But we don't even have the instrumentation really to be able to prove it, because any instrumentation we have these days, like ghost hunting stuff or whatever, like how are you going to measure that, you know? How we don't have those devices yet.
So I personally enjoy doing the experiments and measuring these things and collecting data. I am not out here trying to scientifically prove the existence of magic. I'm not trying to scientifically prove the existence of ghosts. This is just for my personal understanding. This is why I engage in these experiments. This is why I use the tools at hand, because I just I like to think about, would Dr. John Dee, if Dr. John Dee had an EEG, would he slap it on Edward Kelly's hand?
Yeah.
If yes, of course he would, right? If Abu Mashar had Astrodance, do you think he would keep all his elections saved on Astrodance?
Probably.
Yes, of course he would, right?
Yeah.
If Porphyry was here today, do you think he would go onto YouTube and debate Jay Dyer on Christian theology? 100%.
I'm gonna assume
right?
yes. I don't know
These
who that is.
These guys all would do this, right? They would do exactly what we're doing right now.
They're using the tools at the time,
Yes,
right? And that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to like convince you guys of it. This is us, our like, you know, gnosis of this. Like, oh my gosh, and it helps me feel less crazy, honestly, because it's like, oh, I have data that actually supports what I'm experiencing.
It's cool.
That's great.
And it helps, like, for me, I'm personally motivated on helping other people get to a point, right? Like, my thing is like, okay, what goes into initiation? How do I help connect somebody to spirits or to do magic? How do I make like a repeatable process to help train?
Well, that's the thing.
Help people and train people.
And let me say that I think it's very important. And I think so. If you're somebody that like has, you know, the ability to dissociate, and you get information, and it's like overwhelming to you, like the best course of action, I'm going to say, is to research it and start to become like, know your enemy, right? If it's bothering you, like if it's causing distress, know about it more. That's the only way, right? To learn what you only fear what you don't know. Yeah. Right? I mean, we'll never really be able to prove it, because even if we did prove it, there's always going to be people that say it's fake.
Yeah,
always.
I don't care. Prove it. I mean,
no, but I'm saying for other people, it's not like, maybe if you've like gone and gotten.
I don't have to. I like literally don't have to prove anything to anybody. Like I don't care. I'm just.
Yeah, no. That's a different mindset vibe. Like I feel like when you try to prove to other people's things, it means you don't really believe it yourself.
Oh yeah, I know.
You know?
Yeah, no. It's just my motivation is, you know, improving myself and helping the people improving myself so I can help the people that should seek help from me. Right. And that's my entire motivation. And I don't need I don't need to prove to anybody. It's like, if you don't believe in it, that's totally fine. Then like I can't help you. And like you don't need help from me. I'm not here to save anybody. I'm not here to
It's like we're like the help that
I'm in my own little world.
Yes, you are.
Where I'm just, you know, full steam ahead. And
so let me tell you about the common threads are across hypnosis, across trance mediumship, and across shamanic trance, right? So all of those have theta alpha coherence. Okay. All of them have default mode network suppression. Okay. So again, that's the ego boundary, the dissolved feelings of unity. It dissolves into feelings of like understanding your place in the universe. Possession or contact. Okay. And I guess technically you could say possession is what happens when I allow something to come into me, right?
Yes. That's why I get upset about it.
Right. So
because that's
if you know me, then you know that is terrifying to me. That idea is terrifying to me. But somehow in the moment, it doesn't come across that way, because I think of possession as like demons, you know?
One of the things I'd like for the audience at home, if you are going to try this.
Yeah, don't do that.
Be very careful. One of the things I always do when I put you in a hypnosis when we start it is I give you suggestions in the hypnotic state where I'm reinforcing, because your subconscious mind, when you are in the hypnotic state, before I bring you up into the hypnagogic state, your subconscious mind is basically just raw and laying open for me to put stuff into that I want to. And when we are in a conjuration and I put you in hypnosis, before we enter the conjuration, I always put in you that you are secure, you're comfortable, you're in control of your mind, body, spirit, and soul, and that you can exit at any time.
Yep.
Right? So just putting that to the subconscious, because what we see here, subconscious is doing, in your reading, subconscious is doing most of the heavy lifting in the communication with these things. And so being able to put it into the subconscious mind so that it's an automatic reflex that the subconscious knows, right? So that if a spirit does get into you, or a spirit, like something like that happens, that you immediately and reflexively know that you can kick it out. Right?
Yeah. So that's probably why I'm able, like, not tripping about it, maybe, you know?
Yeah.
So then we also have the frontal lobe down regulation, which is the reduced inner-critic enhanced receptivity. Then we have the temporal lobe activation, auditory and visual hallucinations. All across all of those. Sense of presence occurs. And then the limbic system engagement, which is emotional intensity, catharsis, and numinous awe. Right? So those are all of those things combined it's like they the result of this is an integrated state where symbolic, emotional, imaginal processes become dominant. The psychic ground where gods, ancestors, and subconscious material speak the same language. That's what happens. So, and that's, I think the whole part about symbols, right? Symbols, like the universal language is symbols, right? And that's when we can get there. That's what Jung says, anyways, right? Like man and his symbols, all about everything symbolic. Yeah, I could see that, because I don't think, like, if I was to be playing a game of charades, right, with people, I don't think I would be understanding it the way I understand it in the state. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
at all.
Well, yeah. So there's something that happens when we are doing these experiments and conjurations together, especially when we're pulling up very certain symbols. I'm able to pull the exact same symbol that you're experiencing. So you'll get stuck in trying to explain to me like what symbols you have, and I already know clearly in my mind it's already in my grimoire. Like I've already written it down.
What?
Yeah, like for example, the Tau, the symbol that was on the chalice from our conjuration, right?
Thing, yeah.
Yeah, you started talking about the symbol, and I immediately drew it, and then you were like trying to explain it to me. And you spent like a few minutes trying to explain to me like what it looked like, and I'm letting you speak, but I'm sitting there. I was like, I already know what it looks like. I can already see it. I can already sense it, right? And I mean, this happened with the centaur, like I mean this has happened a few times.
Okay,
right?
So is that, I wonder if is that like you're getting it from me?
I don't know. I have no, see, that's something that I have no idea about.
They say that, remember that research study I saw the other day, I told you that like when people are connected emotionally,
I don't know if you're getting it from me or I'm getting it from you. Like I don't know, or if it's the presence somewhere of, if it's this electrical impulse we're talking about that's just getting implanted in us. But there's a lot of times, I think the only times that it gets confused is when we're doing the sigils. The sigils you have to draw, because a lot of times, like
the sigils, they're hard to see.
Yeah, you'll say something and then I'll draw it, and then you'll be like, and then you'll say something else, and like you'll go back about what you're saying, and then all of a sudden it gets confusing. Yeah.
So like modern neuroscience can actually show these experiences arise from real measurable shifts in the neural networks. But interpretation of it remains cultural and personal. So exactly so what you just said.
Those are the symbol sets of psychics, right? And so this is one of the things that always like bugs me about prophecies, and like I run into so many. I had a really annoying experience with a healer that had no idea that I was an
Oh gosh, I remember this day. Yeah. I've never seen you more upset in my life, I don't think.
I never like think about people like that. Man, it was crazy. Like this super obnoxious experience with this lady. I said all but like 3 sentences.
I know.
And this lady was just talking at me for like 45 minutes to an hour.
I thought you were going to be hypnotized. I was like waiting.
But I was like, she was just, I said something about, like Mars or something like that.
Yeah.
And then she just started.
Why would you want Mars in your life?
Well, yeah, she started like calling him a demon, or I don't know. She's like going on. And then I like woke up like the next morning. I woke up the next morning and the first thought in my head was like, like, fuck that lady.
Yeah.
You know? And then I was like, oh shit. I was like, wow, she got under my skin. Yes. Like that never happened. Like, I can't believe, like the first thought of the day was like, I was like mad at that lady from the day before.
And throughout the day, you're still mad.
I was just like, I can't believe that lady, you know, like she was like, so like, she's just sitting there, like telling me, like making all these assumptions about me.
Yep.
And I got,
you literally said 3 words.
I didn't say anything. Yeah, I didn't say anything to her. She just got it in her head, but she was an intuitive. And she was a psychic. And so her symbol set, she was saying that anything that's Roman is demonic.
Mm.
And she's like a Chinese healer, but she didn't look Chinese. She looked something else. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I don't know what kind of appropriation is going on there.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then she's immediately telling me that anything that's Roman is demonic. And I mean, that's that principle that's at play. Like this is an intuitive psychic.
Uh-huh.
And she is mistaking her symbol set
Biased.
for the essence.
And that's
right?
bias. So that's
because she knows nothing about me. She knows nothing about how I work with Mars and like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But I'm going to say
Knows
something
nothing.
different here about her. Like, I'm going to say, and I have never met her or nothing, but I'm going to say, based on your description of what happened and what I heard your side of it anyways, that intuitive to me, okay, so when I'm intuiting things, I don't know if that's even the right word, but when I'm getting that stuff, I'm in that trance state, right? Like, I'm already zoned out to get there, okay? So in that case, what happens during that state? What did we just learn? That your inner talk stops in your default mode network, your biases, your opinions diminish, if not altogether go away. Okay, so that's not happening with her, because if she's still using this whatever, like the stuff that I say, I have no idea what I'm talking about.
It's like super personal. It's not like, it's like one thing if I'm like literally saying a demon, right? If I'm like,
no, you
if
didn't
I'm like, if I'm like, I worship Asmodeus, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's a demon. You should, like, yes, that's a demon. Of course that's a demon.
Yeah.
Like, Mars is a deity proper.
Yeah,
and she was like sitting there telling me, you know.
Yeah. So like I'm saying that her biases are like her schema.
Yeah. Her symbol set. She associates
really,
like, so maybe if she's ran into dark spirits or evil spirits, maybe they have some kind of Roman tinge to them, because
or she associated it with her idea.
Her symbol set. She's not getting at the essence, and she totally dig that up, because I never want to talk to her. And it's like, you are trying to sell yourself as a healer, you know, and it's like this, you just drove away, you know, a client basically. You know?
I mean, I remember that day very vividly. I was like, wow, because I thought that you guys were doing this thing, and then I'm waiting, and it's just you said literally one sentence, and then it was just like nonstop. You going, why would you think that? Like, you know, but I think that.
Wait, what did I say?
You said, why would I need to do that or something like that?
Oh, yes. Yeah, because I was talking about how it got brought up was I was talking about, it's like, oh, yeah, I've been working with Mars and he helped me quit smoking cigarettes.
Yeah. Oh, right.
And he helped me quit smoking cigarettes. And then she started going on about how, you know, Mars was the reason that it was a trick, because Mars was the reason I was smoking cigarettes, because he's a demon. And and like I had to stop her, and I was like, so why would a demon that wants me to smoke cigarettes tell me to stop smoking cigarettes? Like, why would he help me quit smoking cigarettes? I was like, and she's like, oh, because he's tricking you. And I'm like,
oh, because he knows that you'll do the opposite of what he says that you're supposed to do. I guess. Okay.
It makes no sense, dude.
That was a little convoluted.
I was like, I couldn't bite my tongue in that moment.
That was still so nice.
I was just like, why would he?
I heard that, and I heard it, and I intuited what she had said to you, and I was right. Okay, and I was like, this lady did not just tell him that it was a trick, and then you're like, she did. And I was like, oh my god, like, wow, it was.
But that's the symbol set thing, right? And so, and it's I don't buy like when people are like so gung ho about their prophecies and their visions and that kind of stuff, because they're confusing it, because there's an essence there. There's something that happened.
Like, what'd she see, you know?
There's something that happened in our conjuration with the EEG, the last one that we did with the EEG. You saw an alien.
I fucking did, you guys.
Yes.
I did, and it was not expected at all. I was so pissed. I was like, what was that?
And dude? I knew, and I loved it, because I knew, just in my head, I was thinking about like the law of one, raw consciousness.
What are you talking about?
Alien channeling and summoning.
But I'd never seen that before. It was like a kaleidoscope. Yeah. Like I was seeing like a kaleidoscope, and then then I seen literally like the typical gray, you know, like big old eyes, and I was like, no. I was just like, I looked at it and I was like, like, and then it went away. Like, and I was like, why would I see that? Like, what did that have to do with any of it? Nothing. It was just a symbol. It's just an image that came across. I don't know why. It's like, I was like, no.
And that's a part of that's a part of your symbol set. And it made me smile, because I was thinking to myself, it was like, there's one of her, what is the essence of that? But that's one of her symbol sets, you know? It's like, I didn't think you were actually seeing an alien. Yeah, and it's my favorite Carl Jung writing ever is a short little essay he did called Flying Saucers, which he basically tries to understand the UFO phenomenon, explain the UFO phenomenon as like these are the simple sense for a modern person, right? It's
Okay.
for somebody in modernity. One of the very interesting things that you see in UFOlogy is like let's say you go to the 50s, like the late 40s, 50s, and early 60s, the UFOs, they have rivets on them and nuts and bolts and that kind of thing. And then as
In
we're
the depictions?
getting deeper and deeper into the Cold War, they become sleeker and sleeker.
Oh, when we started
and,
like
and
the
that kind of
stealth,
stuff. Yeah.
like all of the stealth airplanes and stuff. So it
And
evolves
so
with
that
the
kind of
technology
like,
of the time,
yeah,
basically.
so it kind of lends to that idea that the symbol sets are like,
Well, some are universal, but like this sounds to me like personal. Like it sounds like either she's misinterpreting the cues she's getting, or and for some reason like feels like Roman is demonic. I'm not sure why that is. That might be a religious thing. It could be some something set in her somehow. But it doesn't matter. Yeah. It's like the way she handled it was bad. Like, right. So
it was terrible.
And so that's why I say I say all the time, like, I don't know what this is. Like, I don't know what I'm looking at, but I'm going to try to describe it to you. Because, well, how I see it is going to be probably different from how you would see it. So I'm just giving you the details of it rather than trying to say exactly what it is. Like, I might say it looks like a cup, but, and then I'd go to describe it in detail as best I can so that you can do with it what you need to do. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to tell you exactly what it is because most of the time don't know.
Well, yeah, that's one of the things. I mean, I think people that go into trance state they mistake it. You have to be very aware of it, and it's something that I've learned from working with you and speaking with other psychics and noticing that noticing that there is a deviation, and a lot of people aren't aware of it.
Right. I mean, so culturally speaking, like you would go to another country, and they would have a completely different set of symbols that would be used, right? 100%. So these are like, but I think the interesting thing is like, if you're a creative person in any way, I would say, especially with music though, personally, because I'm biased towards music, but, or art, any form of the arts, these are the same mechanisms you're tapping into when you're creating those things.
Flow state specifically.
And athletes, but let's not forget athletes.
Flow state specifically is something that I was professionally, like in my careers, incredibly interested in, and
the zone.
Yeah, because that's when like all my best work would come out. Mm-hmm. That's when my job was fun. So like, that kind of stuff. But that specifically is associated with the alpha waves.
Yes, it is. And like, that's when and you've hit this spot if you've ever, like for me, I would write a paper for school, and then I read it later and I have no recollection of writing it. Like, I'm like, who wrote this? Oh, that's my paper. What? Like before, and this is not like using some AI. It's my paper. I wrote it by hand, or typed it. But I go to read it again and I'm like, when did I like what? You know what I mean? I'm confused by some of my material because it's like, where did this come from? I can't remember writing it. That's because I'm in that state. I'm just zoned, like I'm hyper focused on what I'm doing. And funny enough, oh my God, I just put something together. You know how I have that recording of my name being said to me in my house at 3 a.m. and I freak out? What was I doing? I was writing a paper. I was hyper focused on that paper when I hear audibly, my camera's picked up someone saying my name over and over again. So I'm in the state, I'm open. That's what it is. It's like opening you up to that creative vein, that thread, or whatever, from wherever it's coming from. Because, people that do art, they create art. What was your inspiration? I don't know.
Like we're going to have to do specifically an episode on channeling, because this is what I wanted to get into with the alien channeling.
Oh, yeah. I want to know about that. Yeah.
So this is like talking about the download, alien channeling, how like people in tech and artists and like inventors, they channel they're like when you're in the presence of true genius or people that are truly
Yes.
creative, you will never see somebody that's like truly producing stuff. You'll never see them taking credit. The only people that take credit, like, they'll be like, they
You
don't
know,
know,
got it
like,
f- yeah, I don't
made
know
this.
that I made it.
They
Right.
say, oh, it came to me.
Yes.
That's the kind of
Tesla.
like, yeah, that
Famous for that.
that's the type of language that people that are like truly inspired
Yes.
like use. You'll see like people making fan art on Twitter be like, I made this, you know,
Yeah.
like that's
It's like
a different thing.
inspired by
Yeah.
by the collective unconscious.
Yeah.
Who knows,
So
you know?
and this is something that happens with like good artists, with inventors, with this channel that happens.
Composers,
But
musicians.
it's something
I mean,
that the UFO cults and UFO religion are really into, and so I
did
want
not
to
know
talk
that.
about that. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I know it's slept on. It's super fringe, and people don't take it seriously. And I think it borders the occult like incredibly.
Really?
Oh,
Well, we
I
should look
think
into that.
occultists. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so this whole thing about being creative is the same mechanisms that can allow you to have these experiences where you're able to see these other things and hear these other things. So if you can do that, you can probably do this too. Like if you just figure out how to get there, right? Like how to make it happen for this.
Well, yeah. So I've personally found that once the state of consciousness is carved out and once it's experienced, once you can get somebody into that state of consciousness, then they can get into it. Like they can get into it by themselves. So the trick is carving out the state of consciousness, and the tool that I like to use the scalpel that I use to carve out the state of consciousness is hypnosis.
Yeah.
So that's why I think hypnosis is an incredible tool for people. Now I'm going to say auto hypnosis is not the same as having an actual
Unless you're dissociating,
hypnotist.
I think. I don't know.
Yes. So yeah, people can enter hypnotic trance on themselves, but I'm saying like having what I do with you as a hypnotist, where I put you under and then I'm directing and I'm carving out the state of consciousness. It's not really something that you can do on yourself, listening to guided meditations or whatever it is, right?
Okay.
But I think that picking up the skill of hypnosis as an occultist and practicing it on other people helps you understand that within
For
yourself.
yeah.
Yes.
So the difference between madness and revelation, right? I think is like it's ritual, prepare, and return. Like continuing to do it over and over. You're gonna keep doing that, like allowing yourself to get in these states so that you can be more familiar with them, so that you can start to access and utilize them to your advantage, right? For instance, like the dream thing, right? When I was in that, I had a dream class, and the assignment, which I thought was insane, was to tell yourself you're going to dream about a certain thing and then dream about that thing. And I was like, what? How the hell?
Yeah.
Wait, this is an assignment? Like, what do you mean? Like, I was pissed about it because I was like, this is dumb. Like, this ain't going to work. You know, I was very upset. And I told my professor, I was like, can I not do this assignment? And I've never said that. Like, what? And he was like, I'm not going to let you out of this one, Anna. Like, you need to do it. And I was like, why? And he's like, just trust me, whatever. So I did the whole thing. I read the protocol, whatever, and I did it. And I literally was like, this is stupid. And I went to bed, and it happened. And I woke up and I was like, what the fuck? Oh my God, like that worked. And I got the message I'd asked for. And I could not, and then the message I asked for led me to look up something else. And when I looked up that other thing, it was that 2 steps, that's it. I found this information that was the absolute cornerstone of being able to transmute the experiences I had as a kid into being not traumatic anymore and like starting to heal. Like I can't even begin to thank him enough for that. Like, and he knows because I've reached out to him as Dr. Jürgen Kremer, and he knew it, and he knew what I was going to get. He knew it, and he knew what I was going to find. He knew he was making me do it, and I don't know how he knew that. I do not know, but he ended up being absolutely right. And if I hadn't had that experience, but the crazy part was that it worked. Like I was like, how are you going to assign a dream to somebody? Like, how is that an assignment, you know? But the truth is I had never really tried that before. I had never really been like, okay, tonight I'm going to dream about this. And and even though I didn't believe it was going to work, it did. And I ended up getting not just the answer that I asked for before I went to bed, that night, but I got another answer that was like way more impactful and important for me than I could have ever imagined. So, and that's the only time I ever tried it. I haven't done it since. Did that one time and that's it.
Yeah.
But it does. I guess it works because it worked for me that one time. Like,
no, it does work, and
it's crazy. And I think that if you just try it before you, like me, knock it, you might surprise yourself.
Yeah.
So
it's basically neuro-linguistic programming, like what you're doing with there. So you're you can talk to your subconscious, you can tell your subconscious to do stuff, and what you're trying to do is you're just trying to get that thing to get planted in there. So you do that with repetition, you do it with association, you do it with and depending on how you communicate with yourself, how you talk to yourself, you might have to trick your subconscious into it, or you can just directly command it. One of the things I've learned about you is you are the type of person, the type of suggestibility that you have is you are one of the 25% that is easily hypnotized.
What? Darn it. Am I?
Yeah.
Oh, because you know how, though.
Well, it's something that I've noticed people within this path are usually highly suggestible, highly hypnotizable.
Because we do both. Yeah. We take both.
Yeah.
Inferred
because
and direct.
They're better. Both inferred and direct, and they're better at communicating with their minds.
I mean, that's all I do all day long, every single day of my life, and have.
So they have people in this realm and in this path. They have more experience with talking to themselves, probing themselves, getting deep in there, and communicating with the subconscious. And so it's really easy to hypnotize.
Yeah, well, I guess there's that. Well, the other three people failed, so I guess they just didn't get me.
Well, like I said, it changes.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, it changes over your life. It's like depends on what you're doing, how you're doing it, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, sure. So I mean, I think trance states are pretty pivotal. In the occult, I think it's important to have or to start to have.
We talked about just a few different things, like our favorite tools and what we've learned about like mediumship and states of trance by measuring the EEGs. I would like to point out that one of the cool little fun facts that I came up with is that there is something else that synchronizes brainwaves the way that you're synchronizing mediumship. And it's music.
But it is. And guess what kind of music it is? Oh, it's all kinds of. It's actually many types of music.
Music synchronizes your brainwaves.
Sure does.
And so this points to the
all music
tribal.
Or
it depends.
Okay.
Yeah. Like certain different genres of music. Different brainwaves respond better to different genres of music. Like alpha waves respond to classical music. Like I think it's like beta waves respond to really fast music or whatever. But if we're talking about everything that we've talked about here tonight, repetition, association, and then music, putting those together.
Oh yeah.
What is going to get you into that ultimate synchronous state? Yep. It's going to be repetitive music that you associate with trance states.
Yes. Yeah. Like trance music.
Like trance music.
Like trance music. Yeah. I just can hear it now. I can see it in my mind. I can see it and I hear it and just like the Frisian I get.
Choirs and the doo-ka-doom, 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 doo-ka-doom. Yeah.
Yeah. Boots and cats. Yeah, man. And like.
Well, anybody that has been in that moment, they know that feeling of euphoria, and it's not just the drugs. And,
it's not.
But they help a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. But
they shut down that default mode network.
Exactly. Well, so that's something that I always like to point out. It's like the Eleusinian mysteries, the Dionysian mysteries, or whatever. Those are ancient Coachellas, right?
Yeah.
They are ancient music. It's like you're gonna take a bunch of psychoactives.
Yeah.
And like thousands of people all over the classical world, they all descend onto Greece to go listen to a bunch of repetitive music and get initiated into this mystery on psychoactives in the dark with fire and that kind of stuff. That sounds like a rave to me.
Wait, aren't we going to a trance show coming up here?
We'll I don't want to. Yeah.
We're not going to talk about where, but like, So, seriously, we got to do it. I mean, I'm a little old to be going to clubs,
EEG
but
on.
I will.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to wear that out.
Like, hi guys, I'm Dr. Anna Stone.
Hi, I'm a total
This
nerd.
is my brain helmet.
I need
I've got powers.
like the brain over. Oh my god, that South Park was so funny. No, my gosh, I'm not gonna do that. But no. And again, that's a great way to just I don't know. You lose yourself in it sometimes, and it's
it's great. So I mean,
music is your friend.
Yeah, music is your friend. But yeah, there is something. We'll get into it in the meditation episode. There's times for music and there's times not for music.
Sure.
A lot of people do magic and occultism with music playing in the background, and it's great because what we know, it puts us in that state of trance, right?
Yeah.
There are other times you want silence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. Absolutely.
Absolute.
Yep.
So,
well,
anyways, thank you guys for joining us. This is a fun episode for us.
I get to dress up like Glinda.
Yeah, it's the month of October. She's going to keep dressing up. I'll dress up for like one more episode. But
I mean, it's the
I feel naked that now that I've exposed to you guys, like I'm not always wearing a wizard getup.
No.
Yeah, I feel.
Often, though. We wore it when we got married.
I feel like, I don't know, the man behind the curtain was like lifted.
The wizard?
Yeah.
A boss? Yeah, he's a wizard.
I don't even want to upload this anymore. You guys aren't going to respect me anymore. I just lost all authority.
Oh, man. It's all good. Like, I mean, you know, but I don't care what people think. You don't care what people think? What are you talking about?
No, but...
Yeah. Well, and you know what? If they don't anymore, then, then...
Just teasing.
I know.
Just kidding.
I'm not. No, but seriously, this was fun, and I will be absolutely dressed up next time.
Yeah, and we're don't.
Oh, sorry.
The mic picks that up.
Sorry.
Yeah, and you gotta be very careful. The mic picks that up.
Sorry.
Yeah, and we're gonna be doing a special Halloween episode too.
Oh,
that will release on Halloween.
Oh, right.
Night.
Yeah.
And so that one, I'm excited. We're gonna be doing that one on the darkest grimoires.
Yes. Yeah. And then also we're doing a live, right? Coming up.
Yeah, the lives are coming up. We haven't made that or the announcement should be up by the time this episode launches, but we're starting a Sunday service live stream on our YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. So the Sunday service live stream is something we've been talking about doing for a while. We just needed to get our schedules in tune and we need to get equipment together and like start producing it. We're basically going to be doing basically Sunday morning, starting off your magical week. You can come. We're going to do some readings from esoteric tomes, talking about what they mean for us, going over the astrological weather, what is going to be happening in the following week astrologically, so you know what to do with your spells. We'll do a little bit of purification, right? So that we're set up for the rest of our week, for our rest of our magical week. We know where the planets are going, what they're going to be doing, and then we're going to be ending with Psychic Hour, where you'll be able to ask Dr. Anna Stone any of your questions.
Yeah.
She'll be giving tarot readings.
You can see
it's gonna be great.
So I can, now that he's talked me up so bad.
Yeah, no, I'm so excited.
100%.
Yeah, we've been wanting to do this for a while, and we're in a place where we think we can finally pull it off. So
hopefully.
Yeah, join us on Sundays for the Sunday Occult service.
That's amazing, because guess what? I used to go to this great techno party on Sunday morning called Sunday Service back in the day, in the early 2000s. It was so cool, and I'm excited about it. Yeah. So anyways, all right, thanks guys, we appreciate you.
All right, thank you.
Loud.
You've been listening to Discourse, where we venture into the mysteries of esotericism, the occult, and the depths of spiritual exploration. I am Abammon the Great, joined as always by Dr. Anna Stone, bringing adept insights to help guide your journey. Remember, the path of wisdom is illuminated by both knowledge and experience. Until next time, continue your exploration and stay attuned to the unseen.